What if the reason you can't stick to anything isn't because you're lazy? What if it's because your brain was never taught how to commit, only how to chase? Let's break this down. Because if you've ever felt that cycle, motivated one week, distracted the next, guilty after that, there's actually psychology behind it. Here's why you can't seem to stick to things and how to finally change that. Number 1. The dopamine trap. Most people don't have a discipline problem, they have a dopamine problem. Every time you start something new, a project, a skill, a habit, your brain floods with dopamine. It's exciting, it feels like momentum, but after a while, that excitement fades and your brain starts craving the next new thing. It's called novelty-seeking behavior, and it's the same system that keeps people scrolling for hours or jumping from one hobby to another. You're not unmotivated, you're just chemically wired to chase the high of starting, not the satisfaction of finishing. And unless you learn to sit through that boring, dull middle phase, your brain will keep tricking you into beginning again and again with nothing to show for it. Number 2, identity confusion. Here's something most people never think about. You can't stick to something for long if it doesn't match the story you tell yourself. If deep down you see yourself as unfocused, lazy, or the kind of person who never finishes stuff, then every time you try, your brain subconsciously sabotages you. That's cognitive dissonance, the tension between your actions and your identity. You'll always revert to the version of yourself that feels emotionally safe, even if it's not the version you want to become. Breaking that pattern isn't about motivation, it's about rewriting your self-image. You don't need to try harder, you need to start proving small things to yourself until your brain starts believing you're someone who follows through. Number 3, the fear of boredom. You want consistency, but at the same time, you run from it. Modern life has wired you to fear silence, stillness, and repetition. So when the initial excitement of a goal starts to fade and you hit that calm, empty space, your brain panics and calls it failure. You start thinking, maybe I picked the wrong thing. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. But here's the truth. Boredom is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign your brain is rewiring. When you can sit with boredom without needing to escape it, that's when habits actually start locking in. Psychologists call this delayed reward sensitivity, the ability to resist short-term dopamine hits for long-term satisfaction, and it's one of the strongest predictors of lasting success. Number 4, the hidden perfectionism. Struggling to stick to things often hides something deeper, fear of imperfection. You might quit not because you don't care, but because you care too much. Because once the results don't look perfect, your brain says, what's the point? This is called all or nothing thinking, a cognitive distortion that turns any small setback into I failed completely. So you start again from scratch in another direction, hoping you'll do it right this time. But consistency isn't about doing it perfectly. It's about doing it even when it looks messy and pointless. That's what rewires your brain for resilience. Number 5, the lack of emotional closure. Starting things gives you an emotional payoff, but finishing them doesn't always feel as powerful. That's why some people stay stuck in a cycle of half-built hobbies, half-read books, half-healed habits. It's because your brain associates the beginning with excitement and the ending with loss. To fix that, you need to create your own emotional closure for finishing. That can be as simple as reflecting, actually saying to yourself, I did that. Acknowledging progress, even small, trains your brain to crave completion, not just beginnings. Because when you tie positive emotion to finishing, you rewire your reward pathways. So what's the real reason you can't stick to anything? It's not because you're lazy, it's because your brain has been taught to crave progress without patience, to chase stimulation without stillness. But here's the good news. Awareness itself is the beginning of change. Once you understand how your mind works, you can work with it instead of against it. You can train your dopamine,
Rebuild your self-image and find comfort in the quiet middle where growth happens. And that's the secret most people miss. The magic doesn't live in the start or the end. It lives in the middle, the boring, unglamorous middle, where the real transformation begins. So next time you want to quit, remember, you're not losing momentum. You're just entering the phase where the work starts to count. And that's where most people give up, but you won't, because now you know the psychology behind it. If this hit home, save it, because one day, when you're about to quit again, you'll want to remember this exact moment.